DestinationMarc.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. It's no secret Crash fans tend to share the same opinion about the classic Naughty Dog trilogy. The first game was pretty challenging, the second one cleaned up what the first established and expanded on it, and the third introduced a ton of gameplay variety. All in all, the original trilogy is solid, and it was very intuitive in how it taught players, well, how to play. Fast forward 20 years and we've got Insane Trilogy and Crash 4, one title a remaster of the original games, and the other a sequel that pays respects to not just the originals, but the entire series. While these games have done an incredible job at capturing the spirit of Crash from his Naughty Dog days and reintroducing the franchise to the kids of our current generation, there is something noticeably off about how these games teach newcomers to the series how to play. The idea for this topic was birthed from this snippet of the Banditcast with Kevin Fogaragan, so I'll play a bit of it here.
One of my things that I wish that they put in the game was maybe like a hint or a tip or a technique like guide for you in the game. Because there are a lot of things that this game does right, but there's a lot of things that the game does not tell you.
It doesn't teach veterans about the slightly newer tweaks to those mechanics, like sliding off of TNT and things like that, and just how long the hang time goes for. And for newcomers, it's not too intuitive in teaching you about those kinds of things in general. And yeah, like even things that have been in other Crash games, like spinning to stop bouncing on the iron bounce crates. I might end up spinning this little bit off into its own video in the future, who knows, but that might even be considered the problem with modern Crash games, is that ever since Insane, they gave you hints and tips, but it was remedial shit. It was like, don't spin TNT crates, shit like that. It's like, what? Okay, no shit. You experiment with that. You experiment with that by doing it. I wanted to go a bit more in depth in this video about why I think the problem with modern Crash is that the newer games have a tougher time balancing out their tutorials. So let's get into it. By now you should know where I stand on video game tutorials. I think games should show you how to play, not tell you. And if they are going to stop everything to tell you, then it better be about some important advanced stuff, and it should get right to the point. The very first Crash game was a master at this. The level design was crafted and the crates and enemies were placed so carefully and cleverly. And all the while, the only thing you had to go off of to learn how to play was your own common sense and intelligence. If you know how to push buttons, then you'll quickly find X makes Crash jump, square and circle make him spin, and the D-pad makes him run. From there, it's solely up to you to find out which crates help, which crates harm, and which enemies need to be defeated in which way. The game doesn't give you any pop-ups or stop you dead in your tracks to tell you what to do, at least in the American version. The Japanese version does have Aku Aku give you hints when you free him, and honestly, I don't think this version ever needed those hints. This would continue, however, with the other two games. The American version's teaching you naturally, and the Japanese version's giving you unnecessary hints. Now speaking of unnecessary hints, let's head to 2017 with Insane. Unfortunately, the post-hiatus Crash game slipped into a modern game mentality and felt it necessary to give players hints and tips during the loading screens. Couple that with the keys at the beginning of each game telling you how to do the most basic of actions, and we start to see the beginnings of the decline. This decline of respecting intelligence. Now I don't want this to come across as me saying these games are bad or doing something wrong, they're just following in line with how games just kind of are today. And honestly, this was happening long before Insane, or even the hiatus. Remember Twinsanity's tutorials and text pop-ups? How about every time Aku Aku would tell you how to do something in Crash of the Titans? And need I mention those big intrusive question mark icons in Entranced? I've said it before and I'll say it again, because now it's more potent than ever, but Naughty Dog's mentality while making the first Crash game was akin to that of arcade games. They were simple enough to pick up, but tough to master. You only had a few buttons to fiddle with, so you could learn right out the gate how an old arcade game was supposed to be played, but getting the highest score or to the kill screen took massive skill and patience. And this is what Crash 1 invokes. Now why am I grouping Crash 4 into all of this? After all, its loading screens have no hints and tips, so it's exempt from this analysis, right? Actually no. Crash 4 doesn't intuitively teach its players in the exact opposite way. Crash 4 continues the trend of text pop-ups, but it's all very rudimentary stuff. How to jump, how to slide, how Aku Aku protects you, etc. The one thing it does tell you that was new for the game was how to spin while idle to initiate a short spin, which could pick off crates sandwiched in between others. This borrows from Crash 1's crate sandwiches in levels like Jungle Rollers and Generator Room, but fine-tuned so spectacularly here. The point I'm trying to make here, though, is that these helpful tips about the newest technical intricacies are few and far between. Crash 4 is a very technical and precise game. How the characters feel, how you can pick off those crates, how you manipulate the characters mid-air while juggling the quantum mass, mostly physics-based abilities. It's also, again, fine-tuned, but there are also things like sliding on TNTs, a first for the series, measuring your slide with crates and deducing your slide length as 3 crates long, the mid-air hang time you get from sliding, the classic spin while landing on an iron bounce crate to not bounce on it. These are the things the game should be giving you hints about. These things come into play at one point or another in the game. Secrets demand you know these techniques, and flashback levels straight up have mini challenges built around them. But again, my point is, in the long run, Crash 4 doesn't prioritize what tips and techniques you absolutely need to know over the fundamental ones you can test out and experiment with. On the flip side, going back to Insane, look at these tips! Collect 3 Akus to become invincible, break all the boxes to earn a gem, sliding can help you move faster, spinning TNT is deadly? Okay, here's the best example of teaching by showing. The original Crash 2's Snow Go has this at the start: a TNT crate, a Nitro, and Aku Aku. If you don't go for Aku, then you'll quickly find that while touching a TNT does nothing, spinning it results in death, and jumping on it starts the countdown. By rule of color coding, you then go, okay, well, if TNTs are bad and they're red, then these green crates should be good, right? And that's when I learned as a kid that Nitro crates need to be avoided at all costs. And it's only because of this natural tutorial that the game can get away with this secret: finding a hidden entrance by jumping on this static Nitro staircase. The game ushers you to pay attention to not just how the crates behave functionally, but also visually, and the payoff for your observation is immaculate. The most egregious Insane hints are the ones where they straight up allude to very well hidden secrets, like this one about Native Fortress's fence, or this one about Ildil's green gem. These were things you had to experiment with in the original. The game gave you just enough of a push to notice something was off, and then they expected you to go snooping around to uncover the oddity. So, there you have it. The problem with modern Crash games is that they have trouble striking that fine balance between giving players just a small lead on the more advanced techniques and not giving any hints at all about the easier aspects that players can experiment with and discover on their own. None of this stuff destroys the games on any impactful level, but in my personal opinion, it does diminish the meaning of what it was like to do things yourself. As much as Crash likes to recapture that feel of the 90s, we gotta remember that games in the 90s were much different than the games of today, and I really wish modern Crash took that page out of classic Crash's book. But what do you guys think? Do you agree or have opinions of your own? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm Mark, I'll see you guys later, and until next time, take care.